Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. So here's something I've been seeing on Facebook in these board game groups a whole bunch lately. I've been seeing posts just like this. I'm looking for some good light medium 6-player games. Or, hi, I'm looking for some light or light medium games for 6 or 7 players. Or, going on holiday with friends and their children, any recommendations for games for 8 players? Or even any recommendation for games with 10 plus players? It feels like every week I see another post just like this pop up. Now, traditionally, I think the standard player count for board games has been 2 to 4 players, but obviously there's a big market for people who are looking for a higher player count, people that want to get a lot of people around the game and have this shared experience with 6, 8, 10 players. So with that in mind, today I'm going to show you some of my favorite games that play with higher player counts. We're going to start with games that play up to 5, and then up to 6, up to 7, all the way up to 10. Now, I do have a lot of games in mind, so we're going to go as quickly as I can. These are not going to be full reviews, but more just kind of like little overviews to kind of whet your appetite, and then you can go find out more about these games. Also, before we get started, I am giving away 2 of the games in this list that I'm going over today. So make sure you're watching the video through to find out how you can enter to win 2 of these games. So without further ado, we are going to dive right in with a game that I got to play very recently, last week I think. It's called Isle of Skye. And I've had this for many, many years, but I love getting this out and teaching it to new people. This is a tile placement game. So if you know Carcassonne, it's kind of that same idea, except it's got so much more going on, and I love it. So each round, each player is going to get 3 tiles, and then they're secretly going to assign a cost to each of those tiles. And then they're going to reveal those tiles to everybody else. And you're going to go around the table. Everybody's going to have a chance to buy a tile from somebody else. So you're going to pay that cost, and then they get that money, of course. And then you take those tiles and add them to your city. So it's very, very brilliant. There's so much more I could say about it, but Isle of Skye is a brilliant tile placement game. It's fantastic, plays up to 5 players. Next is Century Golem Edition. This is one of my favorite family games. It is so fast, it's so easy to teach. Anybody can play this game, and it's really cute. It's very satisfying. In this game, you are trying to get these friendly golems to come into your village, right? And you're going to do that by acquiring these beautiful crystals, right? And throughout the course of the game, you're going to get new crystals and upgrade crystals. There's a hierarchy of crystals, and eventually you'll have enough crystals too, like in this picture, kind of spend them to get these, recruit these golems to you. So it's brilliant. I love the card play. Each turn, you're just going to either play a card or hire a golem, or basically rest and take those cards back into your hand. And the cards do a variety of things like upgrading pink to 3 greens, or green into 3 yellows, or just getting 4 yellow gems. So that's the way the game works. Again, super easy to teach, great family game, plays up to 5 players, really great solid game. The next game is a tiny small box game called Scout. Now, I don't know where my copy is. I think it's at Hannah's, but this is almost like a trick-taking game in which you're going to be putting on this circus act, but the theme is not really there, but that's okay. You're going to have a hand of cards that you can't rearrange, and on your turn, you're either going to play a set from your hand, so like pairs, triples, something like that, or a run, like 4, 5, 6, 9, 8, 7, something like that. So you're either going to do that, or you can also scout, which means you're going to look at the last trick that was played and take one of those cards and put it into your hand. You can also flip it upside down because each card has a different number on the bottom. It's so brilliant. You're trying to get those cards, beat other people's tricks, turn them into points. If people scout from you, you get $1. Each time they do that, dollars or points. It's brilliant. Scout is an awesome, awesome, tiny little box game. Next is a game called Space Base. Now, I don't own this game, but I play it a whole lot on Board Game Arena, and I've played it in person as well. So in this game, you're going to be rolling dice and getting stuff. It's kind of like Machikoro in that way. So players are going to take turns being the first player. First player rolls some dice, and then if it's your turn, you're going to activate these cards right here on your board based on the number that you rolled. So if you rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can combine the dice to activate some of these higher number cards. If it's not your turn, you're going to activate these cards that are above your board. So if somebody else rolls a 4 and a 5, I could activate the 4 and the 5 sector, or the 9 sector over here. And throughout the course of the game, you're going to get coins, you're going to get points, you're going to get income, and by getting those coins, you're going to buy better and better cards. It's an engine tableau building game. It's really clever, it's really fun, and it plays up to 5 players, and I don't think it takes very long because it's a race to 40 points. So excellent game. Space Base is super fun, very simple to learn, great game. Next is a beautiful little game called Canvas. I just thought about this game yesterday when I was at my friend Gary's house because it was sitting up there on the shelf. In this little game, you're going to be drafting these inspiration cards from the central display. So eventually you're going to kind of have a handful of these inspiration cards, and then you're going to take 3 of them. They're transparent, by the way. You're going to take 3 of them, stack them together, and stick them inside a sleeve to create your own unique painting that looks like these examples here, with a curious little title like Fragile Complexity or Innocent Obstacle. And then these little icons down here are going to be your scoring criteria, so like color, hue, shape, stuff like that. And then you're going to earn these scoring little banners based on how well you achieve those different criteria. It's really clever, really, again, easy to teach, and plays up to 5 players, which is fantastic. Doesn't take very long, 30 minutes, wonderful little game. This next one is a Western themed game called Dice Town. I don't have this game, but I bought it for my cousins because I knew they'd like it, and we play it at family get-togethers all the time. It's an extraordinarily fun game. So here's what you do. So in the middle of the board, you've got the bank and the general store and the gold mine, the saloon, okay? And everyone's got 5 kind of like poker dice, 9, 10, jack, queen, king, ace, right? And you're gonna do Yahtzee style. You're gonna shake them up in your little cup here, and then like take 1 or 2 or however many you want, shake it up again, shake it up again. You get 3 tries to get a really good hand, right? A hand of dice, right? And then you're gonna go through the Western town, and whoever's got majorities in each category gets some stuff. So whoever's got the most 9s gets money from the gold mine, 10s gets money from the bank, 11 gets some items from the general store, saloon gets you more cards, I think. The sheriff gives you the sheriff's badge, which is I think 5 points, and also lets you break ties. And then the town hall, this is really interesting, is based on your best poker hand. So maybe you have a full house, maybe you've got 4 of a kind, right? And then that gives you some deeds, which are scoring, but you can also steal deeds from other players. If you didn't get anything, you get some stuff from, oh gosh, who is this person over here? I forget, some kind of snake oil salesman will give you some kind of consolation prize. Doc? Bad Luck is his name. There he is. So it's so great. You go through the rounds until the deeds run out, and it's just brilliant. It's great. You're working on making a little, poker hand, but you're also just trying to get majority and see what other people are going for. Super fun game. Dice Town, awesome, awesome Western themed game. 3 other honorable mentions for games that play up to 5 players would be Architects of the West Kingdom, which is a worker placement game in which you get to arrest other players' meeples and stick them in jail, which is super, super fun. Verdant, which is a relaxing plant drafting game where you're going to make a cozy house with beautiful house plants and decor. That plays up to 5. And also Wingspan, which plays up to 5 players. Now, I would recommend that you only play Wingspan at 5 if everybody knows the game really well. If they do, you can play it pretty fast. But otherwise, I would stick to lower player count. But Wingspan does play up to 5 players. And now for some games that play up to 6 players, starting with For Sale. This is a property acquisition and selling game. It's super clever. It's way back from 1997, but it still holds up as a really good game for up to 6 players. So in this game, you are going to have 2 different phases. The first phase, you're going to reveal properties equal to the number of players. So let's say it's a 5-player game and we show these 5 properties. In turn order, each player is going to bid money for these properties. If you pass, you're going to take the lowest value property and add it to your hand until everybody passes or pays full price for one of these properties. Anyway, so you go through that several rounds, and then you have these properties in your hand. The next phase is the selling phase. So in this phase, you are going to reveal checks, okay? 5 checks for 5 players, and they go from $0 to $15,000. So let's say that these bottom 5 show up. Now every player is going to secretly take one of their properties, stick it face down, and then reveal them simultaneously. And then from lowest property to highest property, you're going to resolve these checks. So whoever played the lowest property gets 0, and the highest gets $13,000. At the end of the game, the player with the most points wins, or most money. It's super clever. I didn't explain that very well, but it's a great game. For Sale, you should definitely check it out. It plays really well with higher player counts. Next is a game called Tiny Towns. I love this game. I just played it the other night. It's so much fun to teach new players because it's super, super simple. simple. In this game, everyone has their own little 4x4 village, right? And then if it's your turn, you're going to call out one of the resources in this game, stone or wood or food or whatever, and everybody takes that resource and puts it on their grid, okay? Eventually, you're going to be able to complete one of these buildings by putting your resources in this arrangement, if the picture would load, like the theater or the farm or the well, so on and so forth. And then you'll convert those resources into a building of that type, like so. At the end of the game, each of your buildings scores 4 different criteria, as you can see on these cards, and the cards can be replaced and swapped out every game, so there's a ton of variability in this game. Also, every player gets their own unique, one-of-a-kind monument that they can build that has some sort of special ability, which is really, really cool. It's so much fun. I talked to a person who doesn't play board games the other night, and it was great. It was super easy. You know, they really enjoyed this game. So, Tiny Towns, wonderful game from AEG, which, by the way, is one of the games that I am giving away. So, AEG sent me a review copy of Tiny Towns. I already had Tiny Towns, obviously, so I'm giving this away. And I'm also giving away the next game that plays up to 6, which is Point Salad. So, Point Salad is a wonderful game. It's super easy to teach. I've talked about Point Salad a whole bunch. In this game, there are vegetables and there are scoring cards. Well, it's vegetables on one side, scoring card on the other side, and you're going to put them out in a display like so. Okay, and on your turn, you can either take 2 vegetables or take 1 scoring card. That's it. That's the whole game. 2 vegetables or 1 scoring card. And you go and you go and you go until all the cards are out, and then you score each of your point scoring cards. For example, if you had the most peppers, you got 10 points. This gives you 1 point per carrot, 1 point per pepper, so on and so forth. That's the whole game, but as simple as that sounds, I promise you will enjoy this game. If it seems too simple for your taste, you will enjoy this more than you think you will. My friend Tom was in town from Portland. I taught him and a whole bunch of friends Point Salad. We laughed so much. It was like an absolute hoot and holler. He was running this unbelievable carrot scoring engine, and he had, I think he scored over 100. It was ridiculous, and it was so much fun. So Point Salad is the other game that I'm giving away. So I have right here 2 brand new in shrink copies of Tiny Towns and Point Salad that I've been sitting on forever. So if you'd like to win one of these games, here's what I want you to do. Obviously, I have not played every game in the world, although it feels like it sometimes. So if you have a good recommendation for a game that plays at a higher player count, I want you to put that down in the comments. I think it'd be really helpful to hear what you guys have to say about games that play up to 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever. So down in the comments, say, a good recommendation for an 8-player game is whatever it is. And then eventually I'm going to go through all those comments and search for comments that have the word recommendation in there. So spelling counts, okay? Make sure you spell it right. And then just pick somebody that gave us a recommendation and they'll win this game. So US only. I'll have more details in the description, but if you'd like to win Tiny Towns and Point Salad, all you need to do is leave a recommendation for games that play with a higher player count down there in the comments. Moving right along, the next game is Downforce. Now, I don't own this game, but I've played it in person. I've played it on Board Game Arena. It's a great, very fast game of car racing, actually. So in this game, you're going to be buying one of these cars at the outset, and then on your turn, you're going to be playing a card that dictates how many spaces each car moves. And let me see if I can show you one of these cards. Now, the whole crux of this game is playing these cards strategically, so you're playing, let's say, your own color's cards 6 spaces when you're kind of on that freeway, or, if you want to sabotage the blue player, you play the blue 4 card when they're kind of stuck in a big traffic jam, because you resolve these cards from top to bottom. So it's a great game, super easy to teach, and also it's got this kind of betting mechanism where I think 3 times throughout the game you're going to bet on which car you think is going to win, and it might not be your car, but that's okay, because if you bet right, you get more money. Whoever has the most money at the end of the game wins. So it's Downforce, it's easy, it's super exciting, great game that plays up to 6. Another game that can play up to 6 with an expansion is Sagrada. This is one of my most played games in my collection. I just played it last night, and it was brilliant and so satisfying as always, and really stressful toward the end, but mostly it's a very relaxing game that Hannah destroys me at all the time. So Sagrada is this stained glass window crafting game also dice drafting game where you're going to be rolling a whole bunch of dice into a common pool and then drafting those dice to complete your stained glass window like so. Some of the spaces have number requirements. Some of them have color requirements like this. That one doesn't have any color requirements. That's strange. But anyways, you're going to be filling in your board. And then also, as you're doing that, you're going to kind of try to score these different scoring objectives like row color variety or sets of different numbers or pairs of 5s and 6s. And you also have a secret private objective that you'll score at the end as well. But the base game plays only up to 4 players, and instantly, as soon as I got this game, I also bought the 5 to 6 player expansion, which gives you these private dice pools, which really helps to speed up the game. I would say you almost have to use these in a 5-6 player game so the game doesn't bog down. And the way this works is at the beginning of the game, everybody gets 10 dice, 2 of each color, rolls it and sticks it in their own private pool. So instead of drafting 2 dice from the common supply per turn, you're only drafting 1 from the common supply and then 1 from your own dice pool, which is really nice because you can kind of plan ahead with these 10 dice. It saves a lot of time, a lot of the AP in this game. So Sagrada 5 to 6 player expansion, highly recommend for playing with more people. Speaking of expansions, Raiders of the North Sea is a quick honorable mention that can play up to 6 with both Fields of Fame and Hall of Heroes expansions. I love Raiders of the North Sea. It could definitely be a little long with 6 players. I think I've done it before, so maybe a bit on the long side, but it is possible. And then Viscounts, I just realized while I was kind of rearranging my whole shelf back here, Viscounts plays up to 6 players, which is kind of extraordinary because it's a really solid, very thinky Euro game. So it plays up to 6. I can't speak for that or vouch for it personally, but apparently it does. So that would be another honorable mention. If you have 6 people that like Euro games and Garfield style Euros, give it a try. All right, let's talk about some games that play up to 7 players. Now, 7 is kind of a weird and also literally odd number for a max player count, but there are some that peak at 7, starting with The Great Split, which I just played last night with Hannah and Gary and Beth, and it was such a good game. I knew I was gonna like it so much. This is called a I split, you choose mechanism, which I've never played a game that uses this, and it is so good. So first of all, check out this Art Deco style. I need to do a full review of this game at some point, borrow it from Gary first of all, because it is so great. So, I mean, look at this art style and the colors. It's so great. It's got this kind of like Roaring 20s, Gilded Age, Great Gatsby thing going on. But anyway, what you're going to do is each round, I think there's like 6 rounds, maybe 7 rounds, you're going to have a hand of cards like this. And each one just shows you some benefits that you're going to get. If you're trying to be cynical about it, it's just tracks that are going to go up. But hear me out, okay? You're going to put some of the cards on one side, some of the cards on the other side, and put your splitting card right in the middle somewhere, okay? You're going to put that into your wallet. You're going to pass it to your neighbor, and your neighbor on the other side passes you theirs. So you're going to open up their envelope and choose one of the 2 sides to keep those cards, and then pass it back, and then you get your envelope, your wallet, back from your partner to the left, your neighbor. Anyway, it sounds more convoluted than it is. You're going to draft some cards and get back the cards that weren't drafted from your player on the left, okay? And then you're going to take those cards and move up these tracks accordingly. So if you had blue gem and green gem, you'd move up. If you had 3 tomes, you'd move up the purple thing 3 times. So you know, throughout the course of the rounds, you're going to be scoring your art, you're going to be scoring your gems, you're going to be scoring your tomes, and at the end of the game, there's also this multiplier thing going on down here, where each banner you cross is another multiplier for the corresponding colors. I'm explaining this really poorly, but go watch a video on The Great Split. It really is such a great game. I had a great time with it. Hannah won, and she really enjoyed it as well. So, Great Split, awesome game, plays up to 7. Next is Just One, a super simple party game that plays best with more players. So essentially, in this game, one person is going to be trying to guess a word, and everybody else is going to be trying to help them get that word. It's a cooperative game. So you're going to write a 1-word clue on your whiteboard and try to help them guess that word, but here's the catch. If more than one person writes the same word, you erase that word and that clue is removed, so it makes it a lot harder for the guesser. So let's say in this example that the clue word was vampire, and people wrote Edward, Dracula, blood, garlic, but let's say I also wrote Dracula, we'd erase our 2 Draculas and the person will be left with Edward, garlic, blood. Hopefully they'd get vampire. So that's the whole idea. I found a kind of competitive variant on BGG where you can score based on giving good clues or correctly guessing the right word. So I use that sometimes with my cousins, but Just one, great concept, super simple premise, awesome party game for up to 7 players. I love a game that has the max player count in the name, and that's what's going on here with 7 Wonders. Plays 2 to 7 players, although best with more players. This is a card drafting game, very similar to Sushi Go. So what's gonna happen is, you're gonna have a hand of cards, you're gonna pick one card, put it out in front of you to expand your civilization, and then pass those cards along. You get some more cards, you pick a card, and put it out in front of you, pass it along, so on and so forth. You're going to do that for 3 ages, and whoever has the most prosperous civilization at the end of the game wins. And these cards are going to be things like society cards, the blue ones, kind of economy cards, production buildings, science buildings, all that kind of stuff. And I love the way that you interact with the players around you by doing trade. So let's say in my civilization, I don't have wood, but my neighbor's producing wood. I'm going to buy the wood from them and vice versa, right? Or maybe I have a card that lets me get cheaper brick from the person to my left. I'm going to be buying brick from them all the time, and maybe they're buying my papyrus and stuff like that. You're also building your wonders. You're also doing warfare with the players around you. Each age, at the end of the age, you're going to check your military strength and get points based on that. So there's a whole lot going on, but it's really not too much to wrap your head around. 7 Wonders Duel, or I love 7 Wonders Duel too, but 7 Wonders is a brilliant game that I do not get to play enough because I play with actually a smaller group typically, but awesome game. And speaking of 7 Wonders, 2 years ago, they made 7 Wonders Architects, which is a really great, streamlined, simpler, easier to get into version of the original 7 Wonders, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. So in this game, you still have those same core concepts of society cards, science cards, military production, all that good stuff, except the choices are really simple. You're gonna have, you and the player to your left are gonna share a deck right here. You and the player to the right are gonna share a deck right here, and then you've got a face down deck in the middle. And all you do is, on your turn, you draft one of those cards and add it to your tableau. That's it. But it's got a lot of really cool tension where you're trying to match science cards and look at the player who goes next to your left and try to make sure they don't get a production resource that they need to build their wonder. Super clever, very fast. You can play a game of this in like 15 minutes. It says 25. You could breeze through this easily because the game ends when somebody completes their wonder. So great game, definitely worth checking out. I kind of ignored it when it first came out, but it actually, surprisingly, I really enjoyed it. Great game, great implementation of 7 Wonders for a easier, younger audience, I would say. And one quick honorable mention for a game that can handle up to 7 players and has extraordinary metal coins, it's Scythe. I don't own Scythe somehow, even though it's one of my favorite games. If you use some of the expansions, Wind Gambit and something else, I think, you can play with 7 on the full board, all 7 factions, and it is a doozy of a game. Just like I said with Wingspan, I would only recommend that if you have people who really know the game well. But at the World Series of Board Gaming in Vegas, we did exactly that. One of the side tables, tournament tables, was Scythe, and we played a 7-player game with people who obviously knew the game really well. I loved it. It was so chaotic. It was so strategic. There was so much happening on the board, and yeah, everybody knew the game, so we were like breezing through this, what could have been a really long game, and it didn't feel like a slog at all. It was breezy, easy breezy, and I won, which is awesome. So you can play Scythe with 7 players, although I'd proceed with caution, I suppose, if you're gonna try to do that. All right, we're getting close to the end of my list here. These are games that can play up to 8 players, starting with Taco Cat Go Cheese Pizza. This is a game in which you are going to be dealt a big stack of cards, and on your turn you're going to take one of the cards that are face down and flip it out in front of you, and it's going to be a taco or a cat or a goat or a cheese or a pizza or a gorilla or a narwhal or a groundhog. Okay, now basically, if the thing that you say or the thing that's said by anybody matches the card that they flip, everybody has to slap the stack, and whoever slaps last loses and takes all those cards. You're trying to get rid of your cards like Uno. So I might say taco and flip a cat. No biggie. Next person says cat, flips a taco, right, whatever. Next person says goat and flips a goat. We all slap, okay? And then the wild card, the curveballs are, if a narwhal shows up, everybody goes narwhal and then slaps. Groundhog, you slap the table and then slap the cards. Gorilla, you do this and slap the cards. It's crazy, it's chaotic, it's super fun. I have a wonderful video from years ago of some friends and I playing this at my old house, and it was just so much fun. This is a great game if you like speed and slapping and all kinds of chaos. Next is Sushi Go Party, which also can play up to 8 players, which is an improvement over the original Sushi Go, which I think could only play up to 5. So this big box has ton more cards, way more variability. It's got a score tracking board. It's got little tokens to keep track of your score. It's really, really excellent. I feel like everyone talks about Sushi Go. Nobody talks about Sushi Go Party, but it plays up to 8. This is another card drafting game like Seven Wonders Duel, where someone's going to pass you a hand of cards. You pick one, pass it on, so on and so forth. You're going to also do this for 3 rounds, and you're going to find cards like temaki and uramaki and maki and tempura and sashimi and dumplings and onigiri and edamame and wasabi and all these Japanese wonderful delicacies like eel up in the corner. And each one of these cards has its own scoring criteria. So at the end of the game, you're looking for sets of the same card or having the most makis of everyone else. And that's the gist. So it's really simple. What's the age range here? Is it 8 and up? Yeah, so really easy to teach. Great game for families. Sushi Go Party plays up to 8, and the production value is really, really good. Awesome game. Next is Ink and Gold, also known as Diamond. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you've heard me talk about this game before. It is an extraordinary game, one of my most played games. I think this has been played like maybe 100 times. It's literally that good. I did a full review you can check out right there if you're interested. But in this game, you can play up to 8 players, but actually if you have some extra meeples lying around and can improvise, you can play with more players. I have 10 meeples in here. Certainly, you can do that and make it work. So anyway, we are explorers going into this Incan ruin, and we're trying to get lots of gems. And along the way, we're going to be flipping cards. And sometimes they'll have gems. So let's say there's 8 of us exploring the cave, and this 9 shows up. Everybody gets 1 gem, and the remainder goes on top. And then the 11 flips. Everybody gets 1 more, and we put 3 on top, right? But there's also hazards that show up. There's 5 different types of hazards. And if there's ever a match that shows up, excuse me, well, so let's say that fire shows up and then some other cards come up and then a fire comes out again, you get burned and you lose all the gems you acquired that round. So what you want to do is maybe drop out at the right time. And the trick is knowing when to do that. So before each card is flipped, someone's going to count down 3, 2, 1, go. And you're going to have your meeple in your hand like so. And if you drop, it means I'm out. Get me out of here. I'm taking my gems, sticking them in my tent, and I'm just going to watch from the sidelines. Or 3, 2, 1, go. You keep your meeple, you stay in, and you flip some more cards, right? As people drop out, by the way, the gems are going to get more lucrative because you're sharing with fewer and fewer people. If you're the last one in and that 17 flips, you get 17 gems. Pretty awesome. So it's a great game. There's also these artifacts that show up, but I'm not going to explain that right now. Ink and Gold, great game. Check it out. Plays up to 8. Can play with 2, by the way, which it doesn't say on the box, but there's a great 2-player variant on BGG2. All right, 2 more games that play with 8 or more people are Codenames and Codenames Pictures. Now, I prefer Codenames Pictures, but I know a lot of people like Codenames better. They're both equally good. Let's take a look at Codenames. So this is a team versus team game, and you're going to be looking at a 5x5 grid of words out here in front of you. Now, each team has one clue giver that's looking at a grid key like this, right? The blue team and the red team that's indicating the words out in the tableau or out in the display that correspond to their team. And you're going to try to find a way to give a 1-word clue that ties in as many of these words as possible. So if I said something like, I don't know, Russian, this is going to be probably offensive, but maybe your team would guess spy and maybe missile and maybe embassy, right? But maybe embassy was, the other team's word, and then they get that point. And one of the words is this black card. It's I don't know what it is. It's instant death. So if your team guesses that word, you just lose and the other team wins. So that's kind of chaotic and stressful, but that's Codenames. Now, Codenames Pictures is the exact same idea, except instead of words, you've got these really abstract, amazing illustrations. I think this is why I like Pictures better, because look at these things. They're so interesting. It's like a kangaroo dinosaur. You've got mermaids sitting on top of a power line. You've got a skunk taking a shower, and yeah, it's kind of fun. This one makes you use a different part of your brain as you give clues to try to tie in, I don't know, like vermin or something, and trying to connect the mouse eating the hot dogs and this person and the bear trap. I don't know. So yeah, it's a little bit more abstract thinking, but I really like Codenames Pictures. And there's no reason you can't play this with 10 or 12 or more than 8, but it does say 2-8. So there you go. All right, we are in the home stretch, people. I only have 5 more games to talk about, and this is the only game I think that I've ever played that plays up to exactly 9 players. Speaking of home stretch, it's called Ready, Set, Bet. This is a horse racing game where one person is going to be rolling dice and yelling out numbers and moving these horses along a track, and everybody else is going to be placing bets out on this betting board. And I got to play this game at the World Series of Board Gaming in Vegas with none other than Tom Vassell. No big deal. I got to play a board game with the freaking Dice Tower Tom Vassell. It was awesome. It was so much fun. But anyway, so apparently I guess there's an app that can handle that side of things for you, like the whole dice rolling and stuff. That's kind of cool. But if you don't want to use the app, you just have somebody roll the dice. And as they roll the numbers, they're going to move the horses along, and they do balance, like, obviously 7s and 8s and 9s are going to get rolled more than the others, but I think if you roll like a 2 or a 12, they move up 3 spaces. Anyway, it's balanced pretty well. But while this is all going on and the person rolling the dice is yelling out numbers and moving horses along, you're taking your betting tokens and placing them out on the board like so. So if you think that the 5's going to win, you're going to put your token on the 5 times multiplier, right? And if you think that the 10 horse is going to show, you're going to go on 3. And then there's also these other criteria that get added to the game. So blowout, tight race, late start, photo finish. If those things happen in the course of the race, you're going to get points based on that too. So it's super chaotic. We were laughing and screaming and yelling, and we're all up on our feet yelling and like, go 6, and throwing out these betting tokens all over the place. It's super fun. It's super chaotic. Plays up to 9. Easy. Awesome game. So, Ready, Set, Bet. Check it out. And here we are. We made it to the games that play up to 10 players, starting with a game called Take 5 or 6 Nips. This is a wonderfully frustrating, unpredictable, irresistible, unexplainable, amazing card game. So, really simply, there are cards in this box numbered from 1 to 104, and on your turn, everyone's going to play one of those cards. Super simple, okay? Then, each of those cards from lowest to highest is going to be placed out onto the display. There's 4 rows, and your card's going to go in following succession order. It's kind of got some quirky rules, but once you get it, it's super easy. So in this example, this 102 card has to go in front of the 100 because that's where it would go. The problem is if your card is the 6th card in the row, you have to take all these cards, you have to take 5 cards and add them to your pile. And the problem is all of these cards have bull's heads on them, right? 2 or 3 or 4 or 6, and those are bad. The more bulls you get, the worse you're doing in the game. So you want to find a way to tactfully not end up being the highest card on the end of a row and also not the lowest card, because that also makes you take cards. So it's really fun. It's really chaotic. The more players you have playing, the harder it is to like plan a strategy or like use any kind of like strategy. So I love it. I've played this so many times and I'm still terrible at Take 5. So it's really fun. It's chaotic. It's a really good time. So Take 5, 6 Nips, check it out. Next is Galapagos, which I just realized right now that it plays up to 12 players. So there you go. If you've got 12, go for Galapagos. Now, I will say this is a very divisive game between me and Hannah. I think it's great. It's super fun, really chaotic, very cutthroat and mean. Hannah does not like this game, but we play it with my cousins a lot because they really enjoy it. So in this game, you are stranded on this island and you are trying to work together to survive and build rafts and leave the island. And you're going to be fishing and scavenging and collecting rainwater and stuff like that. But a few rounds into the game, you're realizing that your food and water are getting really low and your raft making is not keeping up with the number of players who are still alive. And you're starting to think, we're not all going to make it off this island. Anybody got any bullets? Because I've got a gun. Is literally how it goes. And it is so mean. Like, I have so many memories of this game just being absolutely brutal. Like my cousin Josh, it was like 4 of us left and there's like 2 rafts, right? So, okay, we need to eliminate 2 people because we need to get off this island. I'm like, Josh, I have 2 bullets. I will give you my bullets if you swear not to shoot me. And you're allowed to, there's any kind of negotiations fly in this game. So I pass him 2 bullets, instantly he shoots me. I was like, oh my gosh, Josh, dude. Oh, it's so much fun. This is great. It's, what does it say? A cooperative game until the food is gone. And then it's every man and woman for themselves. It's brutal. It's mean. It's fun. It's, don't take it personally if somebody shoots you in the head while you're sick. with Galapagos. Next is Hues and Cues, a color guessing game for 3 to 10 players, ages 8 and up, although it also says on here, community says 6 and up, which I agree with. You can definitely play this with younger players. So you've got this board that's really chroma key, whatever, RGB, some kind of thing, right? All these different colors, and each player is going to take turns being the clue giver. So you're going to get a card that looks like this with 4 colors on it. So maybe I get a card like this, and I say, for my clue, I say, I don't know, sky, okay? Now, everybody's gonna take their player token and put it somewhere out on that board that I showed you where they think sky might be. So probably they're in this zone right here, all right? So we go around, everyone places their little pawn like so, and then I'm gonna give one more clue. We're gonna go in reverse order. So maybe I say like powdery blue or something, right? And then everybody puts a second token out there on the board. This is the fun part. So after everyone has their tokens out here on the board, you're going to take this grid and place it centered around the exact right spot, which in this case it looks like was, I don't know what they're going for. But anyway, this spot right here, right? If you landed right on, you get 3 points. If you were inside the cube thing, you get 2 points. If you were adjacent to the edge, you get 1 point. And the person who gave the clue gets 1 point for every token inside there. That's it. There's no words. It's super simple. Hues and Cues is great. My brother got this game for him and his 4 nieces, or they're my nieces, his 4 daughters, and they play it and they can enjoy it. And they're like as young as 3, and you can play this game. It's awesome. Hues and Cues. I don't have it in my collection. I should, but that's Hues and Cues. All right, the last game recommendation I have for you, I'm gonna call this an honorable mention because I've only played it once, but it's called When I Dream. This was a very curious game. I'd never played a game quite like it. It's kind of a party game. So here's how it works. One person is gonna put this blindfold on, which is already kind of strange. They're gonna put the blindfold on, okay? And then we are going to reveal from this bed card stack a whole bunch of words. And then players around the table are going to give clues to help them kind of guess what the word is. But here is the catch. Players are going to be either fairies that are trying to help the dreamer guess the right word, boogeymen who are trying to totally derail them and get them to guess a wrong word, or the Sandman who's trying to keep the number of correct cards and incorrect cards equal. It's very, very interesting. So anyway, as players go around, they're going to be saying things like beach, shell, underwater, and then the boogeymen are going to be saying things like turkey, Thanksgiving, lamp, I don't know, whatever, right? And it's interesting because eventually, as you go around and flip new cards and put them into either they got it right or they got it wrong, the dreamer is going to start to figure out, hopefully, who's giving them good clues and who is a bogeyman, and then they can start to kind of like hone in on the the players who are giving the right clues. Anyways, that's kind of how it goes. And then people take turns being the dreamer. Oh, and then this is the really, really, really crazy part. After the dream, right, before you wake up, you have to recall your dream, and you get points for however many of these words you can remember, which honestly, it sounds easy. It is so hard when you're like listening to people yelling all these words at you and trying to think, okay, well, Hannah's telling me the right thing, but Amy's trying to mess me up, and Matt's trying to say the wrong thing. It's really confusing. And then, again, to recall all those words that you guessed. Anyway, it's awesome. It's a good game. I only played it once, so, I don't know about the replayability or whatever, but it was certainly curious, and it plays up to 10 players. So there you go. Anyways, wow. Guys, we have been on quite a journey together. I have no idea how long this video is going to be when it's edited, but thank you for joining me for this look at a whole ton of games that play really, really great at higher player counts. Because honestly, playing at 2 is great, playing at 3 is great. Hey, playing solo is great, but once in a while, you want to get a whole bunch of people and play a really fun, quick game together. So I hope this video helped you. If it did in any way and you like the content, of course, you can subscribe if it's your first time here. Absolutely, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel for more game recommendations. And again, if you're trying to win a copy of Tiny Towns and Point Salad, 2 incredible games, all you got to do is leave a recommendation for some other game that has a higher player count. So do that in the comments, and we'll pick a giveaway winner. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care and happy gaming. Bye.